see which route the players decide to take. And actually, in the previous Overworld Glitches tournament, Furaime actually kind of defined what the meta was going to be for a little bit in taking a early dip over to Sahasra. And here we have a map check from baliame. We've got 2 crystals and green pendant on Eastern, and it seems like he is heading to go check the Lake Hylia item, which he can get right away if it's something good, like the hammer. Hammer is pretty dang good to get initially. It's a great first weapon, and it can open up a lot of places. Furaime, I guess, did take a look at it, but is deciding to not get it now, and is checking out Sahasrahla first. baliame doing the funny auto-walk thing that is possibly required by logic to to be able to get that hammer. So it is possibly one of the first items you are required to get for this seed. In the back of Sahasrahla's hut, we have the bombs, the bottle, and the shovel. So pretty nice progression there. The bombs are very nice to get this early on. Now baliame following suit, checking out the rest of Sahasrahla after grabbing the hammer. Meanwhile, Furaime is killing off a couple of guards, increasing his kill count so that when he goes to pull a tree later, he'll get a different prize out of it. Now, he's already taken damage, I think. I could be wrong on that. But that is important in determining which prize you'll get from the pull trees later on. So now they both have the exact same item set, and we'll get to see where they diverge to next. If there is any sort of divergence in this case. But from here, it could actually be a pretty quick divergence, because Death Mountain is not too far out of the realm of possibility for our runners to check. baliame is opting to go for the Sanctuary Bonks, Furaime getting a couple more kills here and there. We are going to go ahead and check the Sanctuary Bonk rocks. And inside we find the Flippers. So we're getting a lot of nice progression early on in this seed. It looks like baliame is heading over to either Lost Woods or to Kakariko. We'll see which way he goes there. Meanwhile, Furaime is heading up to the Poultry as well as up to the Lumberjack to see if Aghanim is going to be absolutely required this seed. Looks like our first tree pull is just going to be regular hearts. So we got the green rupees and the regular hearts for our pulls. We also find the Cane of Samaria in Lost Woods. Again, more progression early on. That looks like a heart piece in Lumberjack Cave, so that is not going to be necessary to beat Aghanim as of yet. And since we have a bottle already, I doubt we'll see Aghanim be defeated at all this seed. Oh, was it Birna? It looks vaguely red. Man, my eyesight must not be as good as I thought it was, because, good lord. That is, seeing it on Furaime's side, it's more blue than it was earlier. Pretty nice that the bush crab prize is the red rupee. Makes it pretty nice for the early money scene. Get a few go-throughs on that, 120, 100 odd rupees at a time. Nice, easy, quick cash. And we have seen all 3 of our tree pulls, none of them really all that exciting. Green rupees, red hearts, and a 5-pack of arrows. So now we're in Kakariko checking that out initially. Meanwhile, baliame is just figuring out what Lumberjack was. So baliame is taking a lot of time here to make sure he's got the 500 rupees necessary for Zora, and is promptly heading up to Death Mountain, using what we call the Lumberjack clip. Meanwhile, we find Mushroom in the back of the Blind's hut. Another little bit of progression here and there. Now with this Lumberjack clip, you do actually have to find your way back in bounds, and we're doing that by kind of finding a weird little ledge that we can dash hop. Now, you do have to actually dash hop it that way. There is a way to do it by kind of splashing into the island, but it's a little more precise. I am getting a little bit blocked trying to go to Hera there, and is instead going to opt to go to Spectral Rock Cave and likely go to the Old Man afterward. We find silvers, a heart container, and the bug net in Kakariko Well on Furaime's side. So still finding good stuff in Kakariko. And a nice old useless hint for us in Spectacle Rock. Furaime doing a risky chicken clip. Chicken clip is always a little bit risky, and we find half magic in the chicken hut. So that'll help possibly later on. It is a nice free magic refill that could be useful depending on what dungeons we wind up needing to go to first. Now, Furaime does his map check and comes across the 2 crystals green pendant as well. And in the back of the tavern, we have just another big 20. Baliame, why were you dashing with the old man? That's always going to be slower than not dashing. I mean, I get using the dash dust to figure out where you are, and oh god, did you hear that heart beep sound? Why does he have it doubled? Why does he have it double speed? Let's see, what is Baliame trying to do? Is he trying to... I think he's trying to do Graveyard Ledge right now. Yep, he's doing Graveyard Ledge. This is actually something that he learned about just the other day, a different method of doing that without any sort of spin speed. So that's kind of interesting. Meanwhile, Furaime has opted to go into Desert Palace. Didn't find anything on the race game, but did find the Bombos on the Desert Ledge, I believe. And is opting to go through Desert Palace right now. We get the small key early on, and we get a unique item in Pyramid Fairy, which is kind of interesting. Now, we do have access to the Pyramid Fairy once we get the mirror, or by defeating the 2 dungeons that have the red crystals within them. And as we see with Baliame, he did a screen wrapping clip off the bottom of the mountain, which, when you wrap the screen in that fashion, it doesn't change... It doesn't really put you in the sanctuary area locally, but your global coordinates do change, which is more important when you're doing something like the Pyramid Fairy early. Now, we do find the Fire Rod in Tower of Hera, which does mean that we have access to the basement as soon as we find the small key in here, and it is nice to find a fire source, especially when we just learned that the lamp is locked in the purple chest. Now, the lamp being in the purple chest is interesting because that does mean that the mitts are going to be logically available at some point before any sort of dark room. And the mitts are an interesting logical linchpin in Overworld Glitches, as it only opens up the Smith, the Purple Chest, and Ice Palace logically. Everything else does not require the mitts. And we see some nice little beer and dashes from Furaime and Desert to get through the Cannonball Room a little quicker, which is kind of interesting. While Baliame is taking a coffee break on top of the pegs in Hera Basement. Doing a couple of little clips through little cliffs. We see a bit of a broken transition there. For those of you that do not know, those transitions are 9 times out of 10 bad news in Overworld Glitches. And we do have to suffer Baliame's heart speed yet again because he's setting up Death Warp, but that's alright. It didn't last all that long. We finally get to take a look at the shovel dig spot in the Flute Grove here. We find our first glove, which is actually really convenient as well as Furaime is right next to the Checkerboard Cave, one of those few locations that actually do require the gloves. Now, without a fire source, you can't quite finish off Desert Palace, and we know that one of them is in Tower of Hera, while the other is in Purple Chest. So Desert is going to be skipped by Furaime for a little while longer. He's cleared out as much of it as he can at the moment. So there's our second item in Tower of Hera, so he does not need to go and check the big chest. And is opting to go kill Moldorm right away. He's got the hammer. It's a nice, easy fight, provided he doesn't get knocked off. Only 3 hits. Doesn't even get an enraged phase. So that's going to be pretty nice for Bali here. Meanwhile, we've got Furaime checking out Agina's cave, one of those usually out-of-the-way checks in a no-glitches logic, but for overworld glitches, it's actually pretty easy to get to, and we find the Book of Mudora. I find it a little interesting that he immediately saves and quits out of the cave there instead of going and checking the Bombos tablet real quick, but we'll see what he does with the book now that it's in his possession. Looks like he's going to go ahead and use his newly gotten gloves to go to the back of Escape and check those 3 chests. Now, neither of our runners have been to Uncle or Escape or any of that yet, so this is going to be our first dip into those chests. We already have gotten the map, so the only other thing that we could find that could open up another chest in Escape here would be the small key, although he could reach that from the front. And there it is. We also find a big 20 and the flute. The flute is kind of interesting. It's not at all necessary for an overworld glitches seed. In fact, it is not logically required for anything. But it is still a nice time save when you can utilize it, provided you actually take the time to activate it. However, since we've had both of our runners take dips through Kakariko, taking a soul trip to activate the flute is a bit unnecessary at the time. But it looks like that Furaime is going to go ahead and do that, as the overall time save from fluting around the world is more important to him than the time it takes to activate it, which is, of course, perfectly fine. Meanwhile, we're going through the Spiral Cave, get our second shield that we've seen. We've seen another one on top of Spectacle Rock, so we have one more shield left out there in terms of progression. Next, we have Paradox Cave for Bali as soon as he gets around these dead rocks. And he got a little... Oh, he was able to squeeze through just barely. Thank you, Subpixels, because I'm sure they had a role to play there. Meanwhile, Furaime is opting to go through South Shore, which is pretty nice with that newly gotten flute. Makes it really easy to get to places like this, as well as Death Mountain later. He does not need to do any sort of DMA. And there's our other glove up in Paradox, the behind the bomb wall. So we do already have knowledge of where both gloves are, meaning Ice Palace is actually in play and completable at this point, considering we have the hammer. And Fire Rod, and Bombos, for that matter. Meanwhile, nothing else of any interest in the Paradox Cave, and I don't believe we had anything of interest in the dam either. Now, Furaime is using this bush crab here to get himself up to 500 rupees for a potential Zora check, just like Bali had done earlier. Although Furaime was able to check a few chests which had some rupees, like the 50 in the Flute Grove cave. From here, I suspect that Bali is going to clip off of the Turtle Rock entrance area to go to Zora, to go and check the, not only the ledge, well, he can check the ledge, he can't quite get it, right? No, he can, he's got the flippers, what am I talking about? He can get everything in the Zora area right now. He just has to clip down into the clouds here. Opting to go for the Waterfall Ferry first, as once you're done with the Zora area, it's a bit slow to get out of there. So this makes sense. Just 25 rupees, so, it's alright. Crab giving Furaime a little bit of trouble, having to dip, duck, dive, and dodge around there. We have a red mail up on the Zora ledge with magic mirror in Ice Rod Cave. So there's our mirror. We can hopefully now Bali will find that soon and not need to Death Warp anymore. Now I'm pretty sure that Furaime armed a water walk there, and it's going to be interesting to see how he opts to utilize it. It would be good if he goes to Hobo now, since he will lose his water walk when he goes into the shallow water here, which is just a consequence of having the flippers, unfortunately. However, he's going to go ahead and do the Zora checks, get the 25. I don't think he'll go and get the red mail. Maybe he will. It's not really known at the time. I am surprised that Bali went and got the red mail, considering that he doesn't have the mirror yet, as the mirror could be locked away somewhere deep into the seed, and doing death warps with red mail is never really that much fun. So now Bali is going to check the back 3 of Escape, finding the key, the 20 rupees, and the flutes. That's right, that's what was back here. So the South Shore is all that Bali is the main area that Bali has left on the Light World Overworld. Looks like he is going to go ahead and activate the flute, the same that Furaime did. I guess getting it this early on in the seed, it does make it worthwhile to activate as soon as possible, just to get as much value of it as you can. I guess Bali didn't check Kakariko yet, so this is pretty nice sequencing for him. He gets to activate the flute as well as open up all these other chests in the area. So that is pretty nice. It looks like that Furaime reset after getting the mushroom check there, so he can save that for a fake powder on the Bat Cave later, as soon as he finds the Cane of Samaria or the powder, whichever comes first. So now Furaime is taking the dip up to Death Mountain, going to do all those checks as Bali is clearing out Kakariko and likely Desert Palace. Bali will likely completely clear out Desert, including Landmolas, considering he has the fire source in the Fire Rod, which is also a great tool for killing them. So, that'll be a little bit better for Bali there, not having to take another trip to Desert later. Now, Furaime is using the boomerang to see where he is, as I believe Bali used Dash Dust to make sure he knew where he was in the old man's dark cave. Now Furaime has his fire source, as Bali is checking out the chicken hut, which does have the mitts upgrade for him. So now Ice Palace... Oh no, that was half magic. Where was the other glove? Was that desert? Or was that... Oh no, that was the dig spot. That's right. It was the dig spot that had the glove. I knew there was something in the chicken hut of note, but forgot what it was. So now Furaime is going to go ahead and take up his little coffee break, using the fire rod to get the switch activated while he's on the pegs, giving him some nice invulnerability to bypass needing to worry about these tiles for the moment. Although Furaime's bomb count is starting to get a little low. Going to be interesting to see what he does to try to replenish that. Whether it just be take a trip to a shop, or just kind of pray for bomb drops, as well as scouting out any other bomb pots that he knows of. Alright, so Furaime is heading upstairs in Tower of Hera to go kill Moldorm, as well as get that other item in the small chest in front of the big chest, clearing out Hera in full, as Bali goes and checks the shovel spot. Does a shovel dash, but doesn't really get anything to show for it. Gets his mitts, and is now probably going to head into Desert to clear that out entirely. I also missed the this Hera hint that Furaime just checked when Bali was going through Hera earlier, and we find out that left side swamp is not worth anything, which is a nice little time save later on. Because a lot of people don't like left side swamp, and just knowing that it's garbage is pretty helpful in terms of routing it in. Alright, so baliame getting the bombos on the desert ledge, heading into desert as Furaime has finished up Tower of Hera and is likely going to take on Spectacle Rock. He's going to check the Ether Tablet now that he has the book. And we find that it has just a heart piece. Now, Furaime does know that there is a unique item on the Pyramid Fairy, and I'm wondering if that is still on his mind, considering that he has the mirror and can do the screen-wrapped mirror placement in order to get into Pyramid Fairy. I'm going to be interested to see when he decides to pull that trigger and start going into the Dark World. I imagine that he's doing a lot of checks right now in these dense areas, mainly in a search for the Moon Pearl, as that would open up a lot more of the Dark World to him, making the play to go to the Pyramid Fairy a lot more valuable. As Chex Human is pointing out in chat, yep, it looks like that baliame is setting up another death warp, so get ready for a bunch of heart beeps in a moment. I would have laughed if that heart piece gave him a full heart refill there. That would have been great. Now, he is opting to use the Beamos here to take more damage, as that is treated a lot like these spike traps and will always do 1 heart of damage regardless of what level of melee you have, which makes it really nice for death warps. Looks like that Furaime is going to go ahead and check the Dark Death Mountain areas. Now, he does have logical access to these. We get our map check for here. We have Thieves Town and Ice Palace as pendants, with Pod and Swamp as the red crystals. So now we have all of that out of the way. So the Super Bunny stuff is completely in logic, and he does have the mirror, which makes this section a little bit faster for him. We are expected to be able to use the Super Bunny glitches and such to open chests. It is expected out of the logic, as well as a mirror clip to go to the to go into Turtle Rock. So we'll see if he decides to take that dip for the, I think, 2 or 3 chests at maximum that he could get there. At least lacking the Cane of Samari at this time. Meanwhile, Bali is finished off. Landmola's gets a heart piece, which is the last item out of Desert. Gets his second crystal. And Furaime is going to go ahead and set up that mirror clip. It's one of the easiest in the world. Just set your mirror there, walk down to the ledge, and wait to get ported back. That's it. Mirror clips are easy. Well, most of them are anyway. Now he does have the hammer, so he's going to go ahead and check the Mimic Cave. Get that out of the way. You get nothing of any real value there. So now Furaime is going to go ahead and do a Dungeon Bunny Revival in Turtle Rock here. That will give him a Link state while being in the dungeon, but it also will put his world state into the light world, which has interesting consequences, none that are relevant at this time, though. But what this Link state does let him do is go ahead and check the chests that are in here, including the Big Key chest, possibly the Big Chest, Chomps, as well as the Crystal Roller chest, past the Big Key door. It all depends on if the Big Key is easy to find over here. Looks like baliame is going to go ahead and start setting up some fake fluting. That's what he's buying that blue potion for, I assume. Little unfortunate that Furaime got a little boxed in by those floating skulls. That death did not look intentional. Nice little show-off of what the boomerang does when you're flying through all those pipes. Kind of silly. Now we get a map check out of baliame as he's on the Dark Death Mountain, the west side. We get a small key in the chest, in the vanilla Big Key chest in Turtle Rock, so use a key, get a key. Not really any use there. Oh no. Got a little frame rolled by the pickup not being fully on the ground, so Furaime didn't pick that up. Little unfortunate. So we don't find the Big Key in Turtle Rock. There's nothing else that he can do there, so save and quit is perfectly fine here. Nothing else he can do in Turtle Rock. So logically right now, there's three options that Furaime has, as far as I know. There is Ice Palace, there is a Mirror Clip down Death Mountain, and there is checking the Pyramid Ferry. And it looks like he's going to go ahead and do the Mirror Clip, from what it looks like. Oh, I guess he didn't check Spectacle Rock Cave yet. I thought he had. Although I guess he went over to the east side of Death Mountain first, after completing Hera. All those wasted Fire Rod shots. It's so nice when you have Half Magic. Half Magic and Fire Rod is one of the most powerful item combinations you can get. Alright, so another hair clip from Furaime. Oh, it looks like he snapped himself the wrong way. He's kind of stuck where he is. I believe he could flute out from there, but he's going to go ahead and save and quit back to the old man, I think. or the house. He's got the flute. It doesn't really matter that much. Meanwhile, baliame is heading over to Ice Rod Cave. We'll finally pick up his mirror. And maybe that will prompt him to go for the Pyramid Fairy, since he did get a hint that there is a unique item there. Now, here's another option I hadn't thought of. We have the Mire Hut, as well as being able to check what the Mire Medallion will be. We will need that to complete the seed. We don't know if it's going to be ones that we don't have, or if it's Bombos. So we'll get a quick check. It's Quake! Meanwhile, baliame has a screen-wrapped Death Mountain, so I assume he's going to go ahead and place his portal for the Pyramid Fairy. He has the flute, which makes that a lot easier for him. Meanwhile, Furaime is trying to do a Super Bunny into the Mire Hut, which takes using the mirror on the same frame as when you enter. What this does is it lets the bunny swing a sword, dash, and open up chests. But you'll lose the Super Bunny state when you exit to the overworld, go near a pit, take damage, or bonk. So it's a bit fragile, but can offer some pretty nice advantages in terms of accessing a few more areas than you'd normally be able to. Looks like baliame is doing another Graveyard Ledge clip. I guess he's just heading over to King's Tomb. That seemed a little excessive. I guess maybe he forgot he had mitts. So now we have baliame heading to escape. This is our first check of the Uncle area. Although he's going to go ahead and check the Pyramid Fairy first. I think he's a bit too far to the right there. Yeah, he got mirror bonked. You usually want to enter that from below with a dash or something. Or he placed his portal really low, from what it looks like. And he's going to use the Cane of Beer to make sure that he gets sent back to the mirror portal properly while being accosted by the guards. Here we see what our unique item is. It's our Quake Medallion, exactly what we need for opening up Misery Mire. The little freeze frame there on Furaime's screen is a little funny. We see a disembodied fire rod being wielded by an Igor. Kinda silly. Well, luckily, Fire Rod being an overpowered weapon makes Slam Moles pretty easy. Meanwhile, the rest of the stuff over by Pyramid and Uncle don't really seem to be panning out as anything particularly useful. The bombs are pretty nice. His bomb count was a little low, so finding that spot of 3 is pretty easy. So we're still on the lookout for the Pearl. There's a few places it could still be. We have Skull Woods, as we can reach that with a Death Mountain Mirror Clip. There's also all of Ice Palace, as that's been open for quite a while now. And I'm actually a little surprised that neither of our runners have taken a dip in there, as it is completely logically available, and has been ever since we got the mitts. Now, Furaime has wrapped his screen, and it looks like he's going to go and do the Pyramid Fairy mirror placement as well. That's pretty much the main reason why you would do this as a bunny. Now, it looks like he didn't quite place his portal quite as low as Bali did, so he might not have a mirror bonk situation like what happened to baliame. It is really nice to have the flute for this, as that gives you an easy way to preserve your portal. The other ways the other ways you would preserve it are to completely descend Death Mountain and walk there manually, although there are a couple of clips to help facilitate that, or you would have to take an overworld death. Now, actually, Furaime is using some interesting tech there. You actually do not enter mirror portals if you are carrying something, so you can use that to your advantage to get set into the middle of a mirror portal, and then when you want to get into a precise position, then you throw your item, which is kind of interesting. Works with Samaria blocks, bushes, rocks, bombs, anything you can hold over your head. Alright, so baliame is trying to find the Dark Cross chest. Actually, he's looking for the staircases as he's going down. I think he's in the snake hallway right now. Yep. Finds an 8 drop, which is pretty nice for his bomb count. And has now entered the Dark Cross screen. Getting a little bit assaulted by a snake there that's kind of hanging out right where he is, making it a little tricky to figure out where he's trying to be. He's found the edge of the screen, but he's trying to figure out where the chest is. Now, okay, he is trying to use a bonk setup, but I'm not entirely sure if he knows the exact use of it. What you're supposed to do is you can bonk off of the torch along the bottom wall, and that will actually line you up perfectly with the chest to go straight up and pick it up, provided you don't get hit by anything along the way. Meanwhile, Furaime is opting to use the fire rod to make going through the snake hallway a bit easier. I don't know if he's going to try to use the same thing here in the Dark Cross. He might just try to bonk. He is trying to find where the wall is. Oh, he is going to go ahead and use that. We find the sword. So I didn't even notice that we found that there. We now have our first sword, which opens up the entirety of Skull Woods, as well as, well, using bombos for Ice Palace, I guess. And, well, we can technically open up Misery Mire, but it's not in logic yet, as we don't have the Pearl. So baliame checking out the Super Bunny Cave, as well as will likely head into Turtle Rock, while Furaime is finishing up the escape, both kind of traveling over each other's tracks, finishing what the other has not quite done yet. We're still missing the mirror clip to Thieves Town, or Village of Outcasts, or Skull Woods, whatever is in that area, as well as Ice Palace. Actually, baliame has not been to the Mire Hut either, as far as I can remember. I know that Furaime did the Super Bunny in there. Or he attempted to. I don't think I even caught that he finished doing the Super Bunny. I'm not sure. Looks like baliame is going to go ahead and check the Turtle Rock medallion, just in case he needs to use it to, Or I thought he was. What are you doing, Bali? Alright, so Turtle Rock was not the play. I guess he didn't feel like it was worth it when he doesn't have, Samaria. Now, baliame does still have that blue potion that he bought a fair while ago, and he hasn't used it yet. I wonder if he's going to employ that now. Or is he going to go ahead and just mirror clip down to Skull Woods or Village of Outcasts? It's going to be interesting to see. Or could he be doing a a Ganon's Tower check. Looks like he's heading over for the mirror clip. Or not? What are you doing, Bali? Okay, he's setting up for a fake flute. That's an interesting setup. Putting the portal close and then bonking so you're right up by the transition border. That's interesting. It's a way to guarantee it, anyway. So he did use an Overworld YBA there, which stands for Yuzuku Hara's Ball Adventure. And using a blue potion the same frame that you transition brings up the flute menu, which works no matter what. It always brings you to a Light World screen, but it brings you on what we call the fake Light World. When you transition away from the screen that you flute to, then you're automatically resolved to real Dark World. Now, also, when you use the fake flute, you're also given a Super Bunny state, and when you get a Super Bunny state on the Overworld, you can combine that with a pull location like the Thieves' Grate or a pull tree to convert that into a full Link state. Now, that is not required by logic. It is it is along the same lines as what we call mirror wraps or other YBAs, and we decided to not incorporate that into the logical progression of Overworld glitches, although our runners are allowed to use that to sequence break. Now, I'm surprised he went immediately into Skull Woods with that. When he exits here, if he does not do a Death Warp, then he will be back in the real Dark World and will be a bunny again. Unless he finds Pearl somehow. Now, it seems like Furaime has come across the same sort of idea and is in Skull Woods as well. Oh, Pearl on Hobo, okay. I'd miss when Furaime went for the Pearl, but I guess that makes it a lot easier for him, as he can go through Skull Woods much more cleanly, and will not need to do any other extra mirroring to stay in the Dark World. Oh, Bali, you and your Death Warps. But knowing where the Pearl is, that makes it a lot nicer for Furaime here, as he is able to traverse the Dark World much more cleanly than Bali will be able to. Now, you can hear the Overworld music on Bali's screen, which actually tells you that he is in fake Dark World at the moment, which is why he's able to be Link on the Overworld screen, despite the fact that the game does a check for the Moon Pearl whenever you exit to the Overworld. And typically, when you're in the Dark World without the Moon Pearl, you're a bunny. However, since he's not really in the Dark World, he's in what we call the fake Dark World, it's it's not quite the same thing. Once again, Half Magic and Fire Rod make a nice combo for rooms like these. There's a little bit of a spooky action there, I think. One of the Gibdos got hit by a Fire Rod shot that didn't actually touch him. So, interestingly, I did see a Fire Rod shot hit a spike near Mothula, but it didn't touch Mothula, which is kind of interesting, because I think that was the spooky variable messing with him. It helped him with the Gibdo, but then screwed him up against Mothula, which is kind of interesting. Alright, so both of our runners are now done with Skull Woods. baliame has to figure out, where do I go next now that I'm Pearlless in the Dark World here? Seems like he's going to go ahead and flute away or check the pedestal to make sure he doesn't need anything there. We already know that it can't be Bo, and it's just Couch Cash. Furaime, on the same mind, is now going to flute away from Skull Woods, likely to either Thieves Town or even Ice Palace at this point. Or, I guess, Hype Cave, since that is available. Meanwhile, baliame is having to be a little bit slow here, backtracking through Skull Woods as a bunny. Can't dash on the overworld. Poor bunny, can't do much. Now, I think that, is baliame just going... Oh, he's trying to get grabbed by a wall master here so he can get a link state without dying, which is kind of interesting. Getting grabbed by a wall master does not change your world the same way that dying in a dungeon does if you haven't beaten Aghanim. But when you get grabbed by a wall master, you get a link state for some reason. Meanwhile, Furaime is heading up into Ganon's Tower. We do not need all 7 crystals to go in there. This is expected by logic. So we could find things like the bow up in here, even though we need it for a crystal pod. With the hammer, we can clear out a decent chunk of Ganon's Tower. Basically the entirety of the left side, including some bomb jumps. Although they are a bit out of logic, considering the hook shot. Meanwhile, baliame is going to go ahead and check the bumper cave ledge, as we find our 3rd shield on the Ganon's Tower torch. So we know where all 3 of those are, in case anybody was wondering. So now I have a bomb jump up to the Stalfos room. This is out of logic currently for Furaime. So we'll see if anything in here is actually hookshot locked. Opts to use the ether to clear out these skeletons in one fell swoop, using the fastest medallion, be able to do it. Didn't find anything. Meanwhile, Bali has to take another Death Warp in Thieves Town in order to get a link state for this dungeon. And there's our hookshot. So now we know where that is, putting everything that Furaime is doing completely in logic. So now we're up to the rando room in Ganon's Tower. Another 4 chests, as baliame is finishing up Thieves Town Front 4. We find our GT Big Key in rando room, along with some extra hearts and bombs. Bali not quite finishing Thieves Town. He opts to go for the chest game before finishing it up, despite having the hammer and glove and all of that to clear out Thieves Town. Now, since he did take that Death Warp in Thieves Town, he is in the fake Dark World currently, meaning he is allowed to have a link state on this one Overworld screen in the Dark World. at least until he transitions away or mirrors back to the real Dark World. So now we have an Armos Knights fight on ice with no bow. I imagine that Furaime is going to bring out the Cave Baron. There it is. Makes this fight a lot easier than you would think. Especially with half magic. So now it looks like baliame is going to head to the Meyer hut, try to see if his Moon Pearl is there. However, we do know that that is on Hobo, so this is a little bit out of the way for him and kind of a slower check. I can't tell if he's luring the bird to do a Super Bunny or if he is... I guess he is. He does get it, which is kind of nice, but he bonks immediately and loses it. What a bonk. You gotta be careful when you're a bunny. Bunny is fragile. Sadly, only finds cash. Really need to find that pearl somewhere. So now we get a Spike Cave check from Furaime. This one is actually pretty easy to overlook when you're doing a lot of Overworld glitch runs. It's just, it's always in your way, but you never think about it for some reason. I don't know why. It's just kind of one of those weird spots. Alright, so now Furaime is heading to Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town, as baliame is heading up Death Mountain once again. Fixing his camera in Hera, like you almost always do. But what is next for Bali in his stream of checks? Looks like he's going to go ahead and do a clip to Ganon's tower, although he's doing a one-frame method. And he's actually doing a method we call citrus clipping, which is just kind of the method of getting into the slope. As if we didn't hear enough beeps out of Bali's stream already. Citrus Clip gets its name because I believe it was found by Yuzuhara. Again, the same guy who found the Bottle Adventure. And yuzu is a type of citrus fruit, and so we decided to call it Citrus Clip. That's really it. That's the story behind the name. I guess I should also note that doing clips the way that Bali is doing them right now, this select buffered way, is also not in logic. You're not expected to be able to do those to complete Overworld glitch seeds. He's just doing that because he is currently lacking the Pearl and wants to check Ganon's tower at the moment. And yet another death warp by Bali. Meanwhile, Furaime is checking the back of Thieves Town, which I don't believe baliame did. He just did the front 4 and pieced out, because it's a pendant dungeon. So we'll get to see what the back half of this dungeon looks like in terms of item progression. As of now, the main things that we're on the lookout for are the bow, the ice rod, and the cane of Samaria. We still need all 3 of those in order to fully complete this seed. We need the cane of Samaria for Misery Mire, we need the ice rod for Trinix, and we need the bow for Helmasaur. Now we do still need to get all 7 of the crystals before we can fully defeat Ganon, otherwise he will be invulnerable in the final phase. Despite the fact that we could actually open up the hole to the fight much earlier by clearing out Ganon's tower as soon as possible. So lacking any boomerangs or Cane of Samaria, we gotta use bombs to be able to activate these crystal switches from far away and behind walls. Actually, another thing I kind of forgot we need in order to beat the game, we need another sword. As of right now, we actually can't even damage Ganon even if we got to the fight. So we're still on the lookout for at least 1, maybe 2 sword upgrades. Also, kind of nice to find a boomerang after the point where you kind of need it for Ganon's tower. Just a little bit left in Ganon's tower for Bali to clear out that he can. Unless he decides to do the Mimic clip in the upstairs to bypass needing the bow. It's going to be interesting to see if he tries to employ that. Furaime opted not to, but there's our second sword upgrade found on Blind. That could be relevant. It also could mean the difference between finding Master or Tempered Sword for baliame if we find another one in some other location, which will make a decent amount of time save for Furaime once the Ganon fight rolls around. Now, baliame opting to go for the fighter slash strats. There's the Cane of Birna. Not quite taking the most efficient approach for killing them all the way that Furaime did, and has 1 left. He's also a bit out of magic, so he's going to have to use slashes or pokes with the fighter sword to finish this one off. Meanwhile, Furaime is turning in the Smithy Frog. He does know that the lamp is in the purple chest, so we'll see if he decides to go for that, or if it's going to be, in his mind, a waste of time. Or if he forgot the hint entirely. All of those options are on the table. Inside the Hammer Peg Cave, we find a red rupee. And on the Smiths, we find another red rupee. So these guys are just full of cash around here. Alright, so we are skipping the lamp for now. You don't need it as long as you know your dark rooms. And have the fire rod. And now we're going to see another... Oh, nope. Looks like he's going to set up another YBA here or something. He's doing the box setup that he did before. What do you got on you? Oh, he does have another blue potion. Did he... Did he save that from earlier, or did he go and buy a new one? I must have missed that. Can't remember if he reset from the earlier one, or decided to just go buy another one. Alright, he bought another one. I missed that potion trip. And yeah, if we don't find anything in this cave here, we find the Ether Medallion, which we know we don't need. Looks like he is going to go ahead and keep that inventory. He could reset to save his blue potion and take another link state elsewhere without needing to buy another one, but I guess he's going to keep those items for now. Meanwhile, Furaime is heading into the into Swamp Palace. Oh, here we go. Baliame is finally checking the hobo, trying to get a hook speed here to clip through this little corner. And will finally pick up his Moon Pearl. Our Swamp Hint tells us that the Fire Rod is indeed in plain sight, which happened to be in Tower of Hera. Looks like Baliame is not quite done with potions yet. Despite finding the Moon Pearl, he's going to go ahead and buy another blue potion. I guess to have that in reserve, as well as to top off his magic here. Not like he's strapped for cash or anything, having over 1,000, even after buying 2 of them. So it looks like Baliame is going to head into Swamp Palace just behind Furaime here. Although he is lacking the bow and the sword that Furaime found on Blind and the digging game. So that will make his Argus fight a fair bit slower. And Furaime, knowing that the left side of Swamp is complete garbage, is opting to skip that entirely and head straight for the back. Alright, so in the back half of Swamp, we get a heart container, we get another blue potion from the front that I missed earlier. So now Bali's got 2 of those in reserve. So now we've made our way all the way up to Argus. We'll get to see if Furaime decides to use some hook dash poking strats. He's trying it. It's doing pretty well against these first few puffs, although with Master Sword, it's really tricky to get this kind of a fight down. And will definitely make up a fair bit of speed over Baliame's attempt at Argus later on in this dungeon. That was actually a really nice Argus fight from Furaime, getting the 2-cycle, as Checkshuman pointed out in chat there. It's a very hard fight to get down when it's just the fighter's sword, to be able to do it that quickly. Now he is having to go back inside because, of course, Argus, I believe, had the big key, which means it was going to be a double dip into the dungeon regardless to get the big chest here. Or not, it was in the back and just he decided to kill Argus first. Nonetheless, we find a green rupee in the big chest, and we are done with Swamp Palace for the time being. It looks like Furaime is heading over to Misery Mire to open it up now. Both players avoiding Pendant Ice as much as possible. I think this is our... Is this our first check to what the Bombos tablet is? I can't remember if Baliame checked it or not. It's another bottle. So we've got 3 of those already. And we're back on Death Mountain. I think, what is Furaime gonna do here? He's going into the Dark World immediately. He could be going back into Ganon's Tower now that he has the hook shot and the bow to go and take on the upstairs section and defeat Aghanim 2. And given the setup he's doing there, yep, he's heading into Ganon's Tower. Yet again. Now we get to see Baliame's Argus fight. He is going to go for the menu strats of hook and hammer. Trying to get a couple of double pulls here and there to help speed the fight up. Meanwhile, we get to see Furaime's attempt at the gauntlet up ahead here. He's pretty well decked out, has half magic, bunch of medallions, fire rod, silver arrows, master sword. Really, the only thing he could ask for at this point is just a better sword. Otherwise, he's pretty well equipped. So this shouldn't be a problem for him. Alright, down goes Argus for Baliame, and that makes his 4th crystal here. Which makes our runners tied on crystals, although Furaime is a pendant dungeon ahead. With that pendant dungeon having a sword upgrade on the boss, so that might be relevant as we start to reach the latter half of this seed. So now baliame is cleaning up the checks that he couldn't do as a bunny earlier, which will likely include the digging game here, which will net him his bow, and maybe prompt him to head toward Palace of Darkness, or even Ganon's Tower, as Furaime has done here. So now we finally reached the chests up at the top of Ganon's Tower. These could hold progression here, like the Cane of Samaria or the Ice Rod. We got 2 more left to check here. And there's Bali's bow. Alright, so Bali turning in the smith, checking the hammer pegs, gonna get 2 red rupees for his trouble, as Furaime finds another red rupee up at the top of Ganon's Tower, past Moldorm 2. Furaime heading up to Aghanim 2 to get that boss fight out of the way and done. And from there, there's, I guess, Pod is the next best place to go for any sort of item density. We've already seen what we can get out of Turtle Rock without the cane through logic, so there's not really any point in going through there any further until we find it. We could also find the Cane of Samaria in our Pendant Ice that we've had access to since pretty much the start of the game, so it could be interesting if it winds up there. Although I don't think Baliame has been in Turtle Rock yet, so it's going to be interesting to see if he decides to go for that check, or if he's trying to combine the catfish with going to Pod. And since he's going over to this Turtle Rock screen, I think that's what his plan is here. He's going to use this portal to go into the Dark World right here at Turtle Rock, clip off of Death Mountain to go right to the catfish, turn in that item, and head directly into Palace of Darkness, while Furaime is heading into the front of Pod normally. Oh, we also haven't seen Hookshot Cave from this part of Death Mountain, so we could find the Cane of Samaria there, or the Ice Rod. Nothing but a bunch of junk. Alright, so now we get to see the catfish clip out of Bali's side here. He's doing another one of the auto-walk things, much like he did at the start of the run with the Lake Hylia item. It's just one of those things where he hit a transition a certain way, and Link just walks halfway through the screen, ignoring everything in his path. Don't know why it really happens, but it's just kind of nice. There's another sword upgrade for Furaime found in Palace of Darkness, so we do have access to a tempered sword, and that could be Bali's final sword, which again will give Furaime a distinct advantage when up against the Ganon fight. Just a couple of keys in the bow-locked side of Pod. And now we get to go and traverse the back. Or I guess he's heading straight to Helmasaur? Yeah, he is. Straight to Helmasaur, getting the crystal out of the way. Just to make sure that bit is all done. Alright, Furaime making quick work of the turtles with the aid of the fire rod lighting the way, considering he is lacking the lamp that we know is in the purple chest. Meanwhile, we're heading up to the Helmasaur fight, which will be the 5th crystal for Furaime here. Still on the lookout for that Cane of Samaria and the Ice Rod. Looks like baliame will be attempting a hammer jump here. Opting to go for some select buffers here to get onto the right position. Now, we did get an item that did not show up in the dark. I wonder what it could have been. My guess would be the powder. We find the cape up in the upper left corner. Or sword. Oh, okay. That might be what I missed there from the menu. Nope, nope, it was not. Otherwise, Bali would have tempered by now. What did we get in the dark? I'm still of the mind it was powder. Which, by the way, we haven't checked. And that is something we now have access to, if it did happen to be the powder. If Furaime heading into another pendant dungeon here. Eastern. He does have the bow. It could be completely, fully cleared here. Oh, right. We have mushroom already checked. So, yeah, it wasn't powder. What was it? What item could that be? Well, no matter what it was, it's not really relevant to our runners as far as completing the rest of the seed. So, I don't think we need to worry about it any further than we already have. Looks like baliame is attempting to go through... Oh, no, now he's finally in the turtle party room. He's just getting past the one turtle on his own. There's the torch. Oh, we get a nice lonely turtle here in the warp room, which means he got flipped up on top of the pegs. Alright, so nothing of worth out of Eastern Palace yet. There's still the Armos fight, there's still the Green Pendant turn-in. But otherwise, this Eastern dip has not really panned out for Furaime yet. Alright, so baliame is heading back into Ganon's tower. He's going to clear out the top like Furaime did earlier. As Furaime has now finished Eastern Palace and will likely do the Green Pendant turn-in real quick. He will have to carry a bomb over this warp here in order to not have to go back and forth between the Dark and Light worlds. So that's a nice little tech that he's utilizing once again. And nothing. So far, the only thing we've gotten out of the two pendant dungeons that Furaime has cleared was another sword. And here we are with Bali's heart beeps again. Luckily, he goes for the restock room to save our ears for a little bit. Picking up the two fairies and the other stuff in there. Uh-oh. Furaime gets a little bit squirrel blocked here at the base of the Turtle Rock portal. So Furaime is opting to head into the front, likely just to grab the hint that's there. See if he can glean any information on where this Ice Rod or Cane of Samaria actually reside. Alright, so there's the hint that the sword was in pod, which we found. So far, most of our hints outside of the one for the lamp have been for locations we've already visited. So now Furaime is going to check Hookshot Cave while baliame is still climbing Ganon's tower. He's almost up to the top where the chests are, so he's not too much further in this dungeon left to go. So, could it be that our progression has been in Pendant Swamp this whole time? Don't know yet, as we're heading to Mire first. Yes, we have already seen Turtle Rock from Furaime. He has cleared out all that he can. He did not find the big key in the 2 available chests that were there, and we still are lacking the cane, so we do not have any way of progressing further in Turtle Rock that is by logic. Well, this is our first dip into Misery Mire, so we'll get to see if we find the cane inside of here. I'm still of the mind that there's something in Ice Palace. We have access to that for the entire run. Between finding Fire Rod, Hammer, and the Mitts as some of the first items in this seed, despite it being a pendant dungeon. Alright, so Aga 2 goes down for baliame as Furaime is continuing to clear out Misery Mire. I don't believe we've gotten a hint for the left side here, these 2 fire-locked chests. So we've found, so far, nothing of value here yet. Alright, so it looks like that baliame is going to clear out Eastern from here. We find one of our items from Mire in the big key chest, just a red rupee, so there's one more for us to find in here. Possibly. At least without Kane. Alright, one more chest here in Mire that could possibly have the other item we're looking for, and it's arrows. So no cane in Misery Mire. And we found everything else of value in there, so the only reason we would ever return is to come get the crystal. At this point, the answer has to be Ice Palace. I think we've done everything else in the overworld on this seed, as well as all the other dungeons. This is our last resort. Furaime actually paused there after killing that third berry for good reason. If he had gone downstairs the same frame that the other door opened from killing all the enemies, he could have triggered a despawn glitch in Ice Palace here, which would not be good. So he did a quick little pause there to make sure that the door was open before he attempted to go downstairs. And we're up to 19 hearts on Furaime's side. Are we going to get full 20 before we're done with this one? Actually, I don't think we will, because Pedestal does have a piece of heart on it, so we're not going to get the full 20. But we're going to get... This is as close as we're going to get, I guess. There goes Bali's heart beeps again. Thank goodness for that heart pot there. Alright, so green pendant for baliame. We unfortunately know that it will not lead to anything. We're still clearing out bits of Ice Palace. We've only been able to reach one chest so far, and we're about to hit the next 3 in quick succession here. Just a small key. Come on, show us the cane. It's got to be here somewhere. Alright, there's our big key. Could be in the big chest. It's gotta be here somewhere, come on! Meanwhile, baliame is clearing out the pendant dungeons that Furaime has already finished. Now, Bali has already cleared out the front floor. I wonder if he remembers that he did. I guess that's what that dash up the left kind of tells him. Oh, I was already here. Oh, this cane, where is it? It's gotta be here. It's gotta be here in Ice Palace. I'm convinced. So, is it going to be the big chest or is it going to be Cold Stare? That's all we've got left. It's the ice rod! Ah! Stop it, game! Just give us the cane! Nice one-poked strat from Furaime there to finish off Cold Stare. There it is, finally! There is Arcane. Clear out literally the entire world except for Ice Palace, and it's all the way in the deepest parts of it. Good job, game. This is why we love Rando. So we do see Furaime setting up the spooky glitch there by picking up the rock from a precise position so that the bird flies off, again, at a precise position. This will affect when he goes to the basement in a little bit here. I think once baliame is done with these 10 here, I think his only option is going to... Oh, no, wait, he hasn't been to Mire yet, so... he could try to clear that out, hoping that Kane is there like Furaime did earlier. Or he could try to take the gamble on Pendant Ice Palace, which is where we know we need to go. And now that we're in the basement of Mire, now we still don't have the lamp, because that was... Oh, I didn't see any dash dust there. I guess we're not going to spooky in the basement anymore, because I believe the, I believe that... Unless he... Did he have a beam on screen or something? I don't remember. Oh, nope, it's definitely gone now. He is not going to spooky. He's going to go ahead and just bomb open the wall since it's dark. Our two gloves for this run, one was in the, one was in the dig spot, and the other was in Paradox, so they were available very early on. We also had Fire Rod on the, in the easy access part of Tower of Hera, and we had Hammer on the Lake Hylia Island. So we've had access to Ice Palace since the very beginning of this seed. Just so happens to be a pendant dungeon, and thus everyone avoids it like the plague, especially because it's Overworld glitch. We don't like Ice Palace anyway. And now we are done with Misery Mire on Furaime's side, picking up his 6th crystal. This has slowly turned into an almost all-dungeon seed for him. All that's left now is to beat Trinex. We already have the big key, so I imagine he's going to do some sort of mirror wrap or bootless clip or some sort to reach Laser Bridge very quickly. Although I don't know if he has a small key that he can use. I think he does, because we did get one from the big key chest when he went through Turtle Rock earlier. So I don't think he'll even have to worry about any of the chests on Laser Bridge. Although I am a bit surprised at Furaime taking the no glitches route up to Turtle Rock. I guess he hasn't had to do any sort of overworld glitching in a while, so he forgot what kind of seed he was playing. Unless he's opting to go straight to the, well, even then, I mean, he's going straight for the portal, as if he forgot he can go through walls on the overworld if he so wishes. Please tell me he's not going to go completely through the front here. Oh, he is. He's already got a small key. Yeah, he could just go straight to Laser Bridge. He's got... Oh, no, he needs the big key. I forgot. He didn't find that earlier. So this... I'm completely wrong. Yeah, this is actually a good play on his part, because if the big key is... The big key has to be up here, first of all. So, he's clearing that out first before taking any sort of dip to Laser Bridge. That was my mistake. At least he's been paying better attention to what he needs to do than I have. So there's our big key. There's our powder. And now he's gonna do some more overworld glitches. Alright, we're gonna see if he remembers how to do the, Or which way is he gonna go here? Is he just... He's going to go just do the mirror wrap, alright. Now, that is a nice little bonk setup that he has there, as long as he gets in far enough into this slope. Having a little bit of trouble getting the downward teleport position. Of course, it is pixel perfect. There it is. Now he's just got to kind of wiggle his way up the slope here. Now he's got a mirror on the exact same frame as the transition, so he's got to get right up next to it if possible. And we'll know he gets it when he gets this mosaic transition off to the left here. There he goes. He's got it. Transitions back. And is now up at the Laser Bridge entrance. Not required by logic, but certainly a nice shortcut for Turtle Rock. Meanwhile, baliame is still in Ice Palace, trying to figure out where the hell the Ice Rod and the Cane are. He's almost up to the Iced Tea chest, which unfortunately doesn't have anything for him. We know that the Ice Rod is in the Ice Palace big chest, and the Cane is on Cold Stare. He's having a little bit of trouble with this fire bar, unfortunately, as Furaime is finishing up Trinex. There it goes, and that'll be the 7th crystal for Furaime. He's already killed Agatu. Just has to make his way to the pyramid to fall down the hole and fight Ganon. Alright, so that blue potion that he picked up in Swamp Palace is actually proving to be very useful, as he can use that to get off of Death Mountain quickly, go all the way to the bomb shop, use the transition to resolve it to the regular Dark World, and just head to Pyramid from there. Nice, quick, easy routing. Alright, so baliame is now done with Cold Stare, picks up the Cane of Samaria. Luckily has the Tempered Sword from Blind, because he finished that pendant dungeon earlier. Now he just has to go and finish off Misery Mire and Turtle Rock. And I don't think he's been to Turtle Rock yet. He also hasn't been to Mire either. Alright, final phase, already got at least one of the silver arrows, and I wasn't counting. Stops him low, this should be good enough to get it done. 1, 2, 3, and that's Ganon down. Congratulations to Furaime for finishing this seed with an official SRL time of, as soon as it triggers here, 1 hour, 49 minutes on the dot. So congratulations to Furaime for winning this first game of 3. Now these two have scheduled a set of back-to-back races. So I believe that baliame is going to do a forfeit here so they can get set up for their next race. And that, unless baliame wants to join us for an interview here. So it seems like the major difference in this run was the Pearl being at Hobo. baliame didn't get that until very late in the seed. Was doing a bunch of bunny checks and things out of logic to try to sequence break things, and that wound up biting him a bit more than it normally would. And then on top of that, with Pendant Ice holding the last of our progression, and being the very last dungeon that either of our runners decided to check. So, that sort of tells the tale of this seed.
Hello.
Welcome, baliame.
Well, that ended up closer than I expected, to be honest.
Yeah, with how late that Pearl wound up for you, it kind of bit you a fair bit.
I mean, that's what you get when you check 40 locations fairly efficiently, and it's all just big 20s and half pieces.
But you did opt to do a bunch of out-of-sequence things, like Ganon's Tower, and I forget if there were a few others. I think you did a couple of fake flutes before you found the mirror, even. So, even doing those out of logic and all of that.
I wanted to do a fake flute before I found the mirror, but then I found the mirror, so first I went to Pyramid Ferry, and then I started fake fluting around. The end of the day, though, it all came down to, alright, well, I have the mitts before Pearl, and everything needed to do Ice Palace. I have the mirror, so all of these bad locations, all of them could have the Pearl. So I just kind of wanted to hit those at the same time. As I'm hitting some Dark World locations, so that would turn out to be a little more efficient. But then, like, Thief's Town ended up being a pendant, so there was, like, no reason to do it. Then, the Pearl turned out to be nowhere near. There was no progression in Skull Woods. There was that hook shot in Thief's Town, but that's about it. Nothing in Hype Cave. So I kept getting blocked off by the game at every turn.
Yeah, I did notice one point when you were on the fake Dark World on the Village of Outcast screen, and you transitioned as if going down to Smith. Yeah, I figured that's what happened, so that also kind of cost you a fair bit getting back down there.
Yeah, and I feel like I would have had the bow off the back of that, so that was, like, devastating.
Yeah, I guess you would have done the mirror up to Stumpy, as I think Chex was pointing out you could do in chat there. You would have tried to go for that and get a link state so you could check the dig game? Or were you just going to do another fake flute or something?
I was going to do exactly that. I was going to go down to Swamp, open up Hype Cave, go back to dig game, and then go back into Hype Cave. It's not horribly efficient, so it's not like massive time loss compared to going to dig game from where I did, but it's still like kind of bad.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. I had that entire sequence planned, so I like wanted to do it in that specific order, and then I like pulled out the mirror just to be able to dash as close to the transition as possible, and then I transition, and I'm like, dup, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, that's why you got to be careful with how your fake worlds are. It's confusing to get your head around how fake worlds work initially, but once you get it down, you can do some pretty interesting things with them, as Bali was attempting to do. But yeah, you guys have your Game 2 scheduled for right after this, so you got anything you want to change up with your routing, or you feel like you can tie this up real quick?
Well, that game, the Death Mountain First, worked out pretty much perfectly. Like, that's the best Death Mountain First you get before Kakariko. You get everything, right? So I figure between the two of us, it's not going to be a Death Mountain First next game.
Well, all right. I guess I'll let you go now, so you can go ahead and get set up for that. And let me go ahead and see, where is that other race being held? It's going to be on the same channel, so you can stay tuned. I don't think I'll be commentating it, because doing these things solo is a little bit taxing. But please, stay tuned for more of the Overworld Glitches tournament, right here on SpeedGaming 6. Thank you all for watching.